Hi, welcome to Tool Time. Our topic for consideration is choosing to create a bit more hope, HOPE. And that's today, now, in this moment. As I go through this meeting, perhaps I'll cut myself some slack and breathe. So if I feel myself getting upset or disturbed, then I might breathe in through my nose for 4. Pause for a second, breathe out through my mouth for 8. Pause for a second. I might do that anytime during the day when I'm feeling a bit upset or disturbed. Focus on my breathing, especially my diaphragmatic breathing, how my breathing is occurring in my belly. How my belly's moving in or out. Apparently, focusing on my belly or diaphragmatic breathing reduces nervous tension by 40 to 60%. I commend that to you as an idea. Discomfort might actually indicate growth is occurring or is becoming a bit more possible. Rats. So maybe I'll actually sit with this disturbance and see where it's taking me and give myself permission to feel uncomfortable and just see what happens. As I go through this meeting, I might choose to do what I can with what I have where I am. Do what I can with what I have where I am. In this presentation, as a result of it, I ain't got to do nothing. I'm not required to do anything. I might choose to, however. So if I see something in this presentation that I think, oh, no, I don't like the look of that, I wouldn't ever do that, I might put it aside and never look at it again. If I see something in this meeting that I think, hey, I might use that, I might actually grab it and run with it. It's entirely up to me. I ain't got to do nothing. A quote taken from someone will be changed to make it first person, less absolute and less telling. It is still attributed to the person. So if you see a quote and you think, hey, that's not what they said, it has been changed to be first person and not telling or absolute. Where 2 question marks appear, please consider pausing this presentation, clicking the pause or stop button and writing your answer in your journal or on a piece of paper if you'd like to. It's entirely up to you. You ain't got to do nothing. Hope is a foundational quality of helpful change, has been attributed to Alfred Adler. Encouragement is a fuel which might help keep that hope more alive, said the mighty Zig Ziglar. Rest in peace, you two. I might choose to encourage my precious self when I am able and stop kicking my own butt. There's an idea, brain. Let's try that one. Hope, potential definition, a feeling now of expectation and a desire for a particular thing to happen now. The feeling now that what is wanted might be had, or that an event might turn out in a helpful or a favourable way. To look forward now with a bit of desire and a bit of reasonable confidence. The hope I am looking at building today is in the now. It is a feeling I might choose to nurture just a little now in me, to look for the degree to which I feel it and maybe work to add a degree or 2. A question for you, if you'd like, is reality the way I think the world is or the way the world actually is? Is reality 1, the way I think the world is, or is it 2, the way the world actually is? Please consider hitting pause and pondering that question for a while. Reality is, of course, the way the world actually is. However, my reality is most likely or more likely the way I think the world is. My darling brain also has a confirmation bias. My brain tends to see what it believes to be true and chooses to dismiss whatever doesn't confirm that belief. So my wonderful brain will ignore anything that doesn't agree with its opinion. When I buy a car, I see that car everywhere. When I buy an item of clothing, I see that item of clothing everywhere. I tend to see my reality or belief. Perhaps I might choose a little what I focus on. Therefore, it follows when I choose to at any moment alter the way I engage with a thought, or alter the way I act or alter my focus, I have probably chosen to alter my reality, my perception of a thing or situation. Altering my focus might be a real power in my power of choice. Maybe that power resides in me. When I change the way I look at a thing, the thing I look at changes. Thanks, Wayne Dyer. Rest in peace. Dub, disputing an unhelpful belief. I commend the link is also in the description down below. Please consider looking at disputing an unhelpful belief and see what might ring true for you in there. Where might truth be in this thought or belief really? How helpful might this thought be really? What might also be possible, my wonderful brain, that you might like to come up with to help me if you're not too busy? Perhaps looking to catch an unhelpful or self-limiting thought or statement. I can't do that. I'm no good at this. I could never do that. Says who? I might try adding yet or so far and remove never from my vocabulary. I might never say never again. There's a Navy SEAL saying, when my mind says I am finished, I am beaten, I can't possibly go on, I have absolutely nothing left, my resources are in reality only 40% used up. I still have 60% of my physical resources left, said the wonderful David Goggins. I commend that link to you. It's also in the description below. My brain has absolutely no idea how far it or my body can go or how high I might climb. My wonderful brain has a common human tendency to give up way too early. Where is it written in stone in the universe? Let it be known that first name, surname will be the only person in the history of the universe who, after an alteration in their action or thought, or their dedication to trying, or their increased awareness, will stay as they are forever at the point they began, despite that being impossible. Signed, the being who signs this stuff. Where is this written in stone? That I cannot grow and develop. 2 ways I might fail when an action is likely to be helpful. The first way is do nothing. The second way is do something and not succeed yet. Which one of these do I feel might provide me the greatest possibility of some growth? Please consider pausing the presentation and answering this question if you'd like to. You ain't got to do nothing. When I'm not making a mistake and I'm not having a failure or setback, I am probably not trying anything that is challenging me. I might have 100% success at doing a thing that is easier for me, and for what greater purpose? One of my favourite authors, Anon. So if I'm not having a failure or a setback, I'm probably not trying anything that's challenging me. With this caution, if at first I don't succeed, parachuting may not be for me. Certainly reconsider parachuting if that is you. And adversity has the effect of eliciting a talent in me which, in a more prosperous circumstance, might have lain dormant. Thank you, Horace. I wasn't made a skilled sailor by a smooth sea. Hope. Could hope be something I am best to wait for? Or could hope be something I might choose to look for? Or might hope even be something I might choose to go out and purposefully create this very moment? If you do have a piece of paper handy and you would like to participate, or you don't have a page, you'd like to get one, please consider stopping this presentation, pausing it for a moment, grabbing a piece of paper and writing HOPE running down the page, HOPE. What might your H stand for? Please consider pausing. And if you were creating your own hope, what might your H stand for? In the past, we've had harmony, healing, health, helpful, honesty or self-honesty, hugs, one wouldn't mind a few of those, humour, And maybe you've got a different H, and we've certainly had different H's or H's through this presentation. The act of reading one of these words out aloud tends to focus my wonderful brain, my higher mind, and my energy a little more on a creative, helpful, enlightening thing or idea. There's an idea, brain. Let's do that. This might be a start or a continue of a helpful thing. I decided on hierarchy of values, HOV, from the work of Joe Gerstein. Thanks, Joe, for all you've done. And happiness, medium to longer term as a choice. Choosing medium to longer term happiness. If you haven't had a look at the hierarchy of values exercise, I commend it to you as something worth having a look at. It's in the description below. Please consider clicking the link and trying the exercise if you'd like to. You ain't got to do nothing, of course. My vision might become clearer when I look into my own heart. When I look outside, I might tend to dream. When I look inside, I might tend to awaken. What is one thing you value from your hierarchy of values that you would like to share? Please consider putting it in the comments below. Please consider pausing and considering your hierarchy of values. For me, it's loyalty. Even blind loyalty, I grudgingly admire. When the person shouldn't be loyal, because the person doesn't deserve it, but they are anyway. Go you good thing. Feature versus benefit. If you've been a salesperson, you may have been acquainted with this, feature versus benefit. A feature is what a thing is or has. A benefit is what it does for me. I might choose to take a moment to write down why each value of mine in my hierarchy of values might be important to me as a person. I might choose to sell myself on a benefit to me of this value of mine, what it does for me. I commend that to you as an approach. I might choose to be a little more helpfully emotional about a value of mine, give myself credit for having it as a value, being a champion of this value. What does having this value say about me? How does me standing up for this value say I am being in the world? Picture myself with it, or a little more of it, or making it be more present in the world and how I feel when this is the case. I commend that to you as a potentially helpful exercise if you'd like to. I might ponder how often might I review my hierarchy of values, how often might be a little more helpful, how might I feel when I choose to regularly focus on a hierarchy of values item of mine for a moment, to perhaps sell myself on it a little bit more and sit with it a little bit, choose to breathe a little more life into it in my world. How might I feel when I do something like that? What might your O stand for? Please consider pausing the presentation and writing out what your O might stand for. In the past, we've had observe, ongoing sobriety, open-minded, openness, opportunities, opposite action, options, organise, outlook or positive outlook, ownership. I decided on optimistic behaviour. Optimism is the faith that might lead to achievement. A little thing might be done with a little more hope and a bit more of a leap of faith. Thank you, Helen Keller. Martin Seligman wrote a book, Learned Optimism. If you haven't had a look at it, I commend it to you. He mentions explanatory style in that book. When I am more in optimistic behaviour, I tend to see a helpful thing as personal, permanent, and pervasive. When I am in optimistic behaviour, I tend to see a helpful thing as personal, permanent, and pervasive. Personal or internal, I tend to cause a helpful thing, or I can make it more likely to happen. Permanent, a helpful thing will tend to be around. A good thing happens to me regularly. Pervasive, a helpful thing, easy for me to say. A helpful thing tends to happen in each thing I do, and it is everywhere. A helpful thing happens to me and around me. I tend to be able to cause a helpful thing to happen, and it happens to me regularly. Go me. In what way might I choose to alter my focus a little to perhaps choose to think a little more in that way? If you haven't been on the Greater Good in Action website, the link is in the description below. Please consider visiting Greater Good in Action, and please consider making a donation to them if you are able. That filter there is for optimism. Building on the Greater Good in Action website, there are exercises to help me to develop skills and abilities in certain areas. I really do commend it to you as something worth having a look at. 3 good things, gratitude. On the Greater Good in Action website, it says each day for at least 1 week, I might write down 3 things that went well for me that day. I might provide an explanation for why I think they went well. I might, during the day, record an event in my phone or on paper, then pick 3 at night. I might include how the event helped me feel at the time and how this event helps me feel later, including now as I remember it. When I find myself focusing on a negative thought or feeling, I might look to refocus my mind on that helpful event and a positive feeling that came with it. This might take a little effort. It's generally not what I'm used to doing. My wonderful brain would rather kick everyone, including me. Perhaps gets easier with practice and has been shown to make a real difference in how I might feel. I do commend it to you as something worth persevering with if you'd like to. I might tend as a common human being to adapt to my life, all the bits of my life. This can include an unhelpful thing and also a helpful thing or person in my life. Taking it for granted, not noticing it, not even seeing it, just being with it. Due to this very human tendency to adapt, I might tend to frequently miss a thread of opportunity for more happiness and connection. It's how people can live doing quite unhelpful behaviour. They just adapt to it. It's just what I do. In what way am I perhaps choosing to regularly tune into a source of helpfulness and goodness in my life? Of the 8 practices on that Greater Good in Action page, almost all recommend doing them in writing. Why might that be? Why would they ask me to do these things in writing? Maybe cement them a bit more. When I'm in optimistic behaviour, I tend to see an unhelpful or bad thing as external. That unhelpful thing happened to me. Temporary change in action or thought of mine, and the unhelpful thing will change, or it will simply change. It won't last. Specific. This was one thing. This was one issue. I won't stack them up. I won't bundle them. I won't say this happened and then that happened. I'll treat them as specific, independent things. When I'm in pessimistic behaviour, I tend to see a good or helpful thing as external, temporary, and specific. Rats. When I'm in pessimistic behaviour, I tend to see a bad or unhelpful thing as personal, permanent, and pervasive. Double rats. Wow, that is a difference. Looking perhaps for the degree to which I might tend to think, feel, or talk in this way. If you haven't had a look at Disarm, Destructive Imagery and Self-Talk Awareness and Refusal Method, I commend it to you as a potentially useful thing. If you've read the book 10% Happier or listened to the audio book, you would be familiar with what is said in there. A voice in my head is an asshole. So one of the voices in my head is not my friend. It's an asshole, and I need to stop listening to it. Exchanging a word or phrase, both of these are in the description below. Perhaps making it a little more powerful, rather than I choose to think something different or I choose to behave in a different way, I choose to. What might your P stand for in your hope? Please consider pausing this presentation and maybe jotting down a few things or pondering it for a while and seeing what comes up for you. In the past, we've had passion, peaceful, people, playful, positivity, possibilities, potential, power of no, progress, prosperity. I decided on planning or practice or persistence or patience and power of choice. You can, of course, have anything in your hope. It's entirely up to you and what you feel could be more helpful. Per flaming systems. Consider moving forward after a slip, lapse or relapse. This is in the description below. Please consider clicking on it and having a bit of a read. I commend it to you as something potentially helpful. Rest in peace, JVB. The likelihood of a helpful outcome in a thing tends to increase as I choose to increase one of these three characteristics in me: aptitude, my skill set, my planning, my practice, my persistence, my patience, a tool or a mindset, and an application of that tool. Motivation, hierarchy of values, cost-benefit analysis, or benefit-cost matrix, belief that I might change. People stop a poison once used and start a thing, a vitally absorbing creative interest all the time. People stop things and start things all the time. Optimism, choosing to perhaps gradually alter how I might see, process, and look at a part of my world or my life. Persistence overcomes resistance, thereby altering my reality. So I might work with my aptitude, my motivation, and my optimism. Benefit cost matrix, I commend it to you as something potentially useful. In rational emotive behavior therapy, it's called the cost benefit analysis. This link is also in the description below. In my early different life, how often might I be choosing to look at my benefit cost matrix? How often do I feel might be slightly more helpful? I looked at mine in the morning and in the evening, 7 days a week. I commend that to you as potentially useful. It was a powerful shift in my more active life that rather than moving forward because I hate what is behind me, I started to move forward because I was beginning to love what is in front of me. Well done, HughK. What might your E stand for in your hope? Please consider pausing the presentation and seeing what your E might stand for. In the past, we've had effectiveness, efficient, effort, emancipation, empathy, empowerment, encouragement, endless expansion. We've also had endless possibilities, energy, enjoyment, enrichment, enthusiasm, evolving, excitement. We've also had expanding perception as opposed to the collapsing perception of a depressive or addictive thought. Thanks, brain. Love your work. Expectation of a better life, extra dollars, exuberance. I decided on empowerment and endurance and enlightenment. You can, of course, have anything in your hope. It's your personal choice. You ain't got to do nothing. Endurance, the ability to endure an unpleasant or difficult situation or process without giving way. The capacity of something to last or to withstand wear and tear. Putting in a little effort to build my frustration, discomfort, and uncertainty tolerance might simply be pretty helpful in my life in general. Apparently, lowered frustration, discomfort, and uncertainty tolerance leads to an unhelpful or a bit more unhelpful life. A hugely helpful thing I heard someone say, I give myself permission to feel uncomfortable. No matter what happens, I am not going to use or drink or act out. Thanks, Kat. Trust you're keeping well. That was very inspiring when you said that. I choose to catch myself doing something right. There's an idea, brain. I choose to work towards learning to a bit better unconditionally accept my precious self, if you don't mind, brain, and to have a bit more compassion for my precious self, if you can put aside a moment, brain. There is at least one person I will never lose, who will never leave me, who will be my constant companion. Who might that be? Please consider pausing and pondering. My constant companion. It might actually be 3 people, me, myself, and I. It is difficult to pour from an empty cup. I might have the ability to choose to renew, encourage, and support my precious self. I might develop that ability over time when I choose to put in some effort towards it. In what way might I become my own BFF, best friend forever? What do you think, brain? At least less of a kick my own butt person. What thing might you do for self-care? Please consider pausing the presentation and deciding what you do. I've got a brisk walk in nature. And someone said to listen for bird song, and that certainly made the journey a lot less difficult for me. Now I can walk a lot further. So thank you, whoever said that. Please consider your meds, mindfulness or meditation or massage, exercise, diet and sleep. How are your meds today? How is your mindfulness or meditation or massage? How is your exercise, your diet and your sleep today? My fill the cup stuff. I cannot pour from an empty cup. Maybe I'll take time to fill up my cup so I can pour some good things on other people. And Ailey asked me to add R routine in there, R meds. The struggle to break out of the cocoon is what helps a butterfly be so beautiful. The struggle pumps fluid into their wings and causes their wings to expand. These links are both in the description below. If some well-meaning person stops their struggle by helping the butterfly get out of the cocoon, it will not be able to fly. Rats. It has been often said that someone who has an unhelpful behaviour and then moves away from it to a more helpful behaviour, they're actually more grounded as a person and a more productive person they would have been otherwise. I commend that to you as a pretty good outcome, even though who needs it? How might I construct my hope? What might be a wing of my butterfly of hope? The resources below, talking about constructing my hope, are in the description tab below. I've got hierarchy of values, happiness, helpful, optimistic, opportunities, outlook, planning or patience or practice or persistence or power of choice or possibility. I've got empowerment, endurance, enlightenment, expanding perception, emancipation. The mighty zircon had healthy opportunity promotes empowerment. So looking for a more healthy opportunity. Thanks, zircon, for all you do and who you are. Much appreciated. Which hope might help me a little? Perhaps I'll move a little along my line as and when I am able, from pessimism to optimism, from hell to hierarchy of values, from oblivion to optimism, from purgatory to persistence, from evil to empowerment. There's an idea, brain. Power of choice. What helpful action might I be choosing to do today? How might I be attempting to reinforce my commitment? What might I be doing to attempt to talk myself into my different life? Thank you, brain, very much indeed for your contribution. What might I be working on catching as my thought that is trying to talk me out of my different life? Thanks, brain. Catching that naughty thought and putting it in time out until it behaves, if it ever does, or letting it pass through without engaging with it. Not today, brain. No, I'm not doing that today. I haven't seen that for a while. Stroke of genius, brain, but not today. Simply choosing to have a little more, a helpful, constructive, optimistic, positive word in my life, and perhaps one less of the other type. Apparently focusing on something helpful, positive, optimistic, constructive can tend to be a useful thing. Hope is maybe spelt try, choosing to have a go, perhaps choosing to expend a little more effort on choosing a helpful thought a little more often, possibly choosing to catch myself talking crap to myself. I might decide to choose to focus on a more constructive, positive, helpful and progressive action and thought when I'm a bit more able. I'm probably what I repeatedly do. Progress rather than being a single act is perhaps more a habit of action and thought. Thanks, Aristotle. Rather than my happiness depending on any external condition, it is when I choose, perhaps governed by my mental attitude. Thanks, Dale Carnegie. Doing nothing gets me nothing. Oh, thanks, Sean. An ant on the move does more than a dozing ox. Wow. Thanks, Lau. When I spend too much time thinking about a thing, I'll miss getting it done. Well done, Bruce. I can argue with you. My life spent making a mistake is perhaps more honourable and maybe more useful than my life spent doing nothing. Wow, George. I attempt to do today what another maybe won't do, so tomorrow I can do what another perhaps can't do. Well done, Brian. When I wait for roast duck to fly into my mouth, I must wait very, very long time. Apparently, they do lose their flying ability when roasted. Well done, Chinese proverb. My real problem then is maybe not my strength today. It is rather my choice for an action today to ensure my strength tomorrow. Thanks, Dwight. My motivation might come from me taking an action. When I start now by taking an action, my motivation might follow. Well done, David. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only my light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only my love can do that. Thanks, Martin. I choose to do my little bit of good where I am. It is my little bits of good put together that might overwhelm my world. Thanks, Desmond. The will to have a go, a desire to explore, a thought to perhaps be somewhere different. Maybe these are a key that may unlock a door to my personal growth. Thanks, HughK. When I have more of a belief that I might do it, I might move toward more of a capacity to do it, even if I might not have that capacity at the beginning. Thanks, Gandhi. I choose to believe in myself a little more. I choose to have a little more faith in my ability to grow. With humble and reasonable confidence in my own power of choice, I might choose to strive a little more and maybe choose to be a little bit happier. A good thing, Norman. Believing in a value of mine, believing in a dream of mine, believing in my ability at some time to make a more helpful choice, believing in another, believing in love, at some point taking a more helpful action consistent with a more helpful belief of mine. When I do, what might I do? Thanks, HughK. It couldn't be done, Edgar A. Guest. Somebody said that it couldn't be done, and I with a chuckle replied that maybe it couldn't, and I would be one who wouldn't say so till I tried. So I buckled right in with a trace of a grin on my face when I worried I hit it. I started to sing as I tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and I did it. Somebody scoffed, "Oh, you'll never do that." Well, at least no one ever has done it. So I took off my coat and I took off my hat, and the first thing they knew, I'd begun it. With a lift of my chin and a bit of a grin, without any doubting or I'll quit it, I started to sing as I tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and I did it. There are some who will tell me it cannot be done. There are a few who will prophesy failure. There is a person who will point out to me one by one a danger that waits to assail me. And I'll just buckle in with a trace of a grin. I'll just take off my coat and go to it. I'll just start to sing as I tackle the thing that cannot be done, and just maybe I'll do it. Many thanks to that person who points out to me one by one a danger that waits to assail me. I do appreciate your positive contribution. My heart is a bit more open to a power of choice that maybe exists a bit in me. Hope. My heart is a bit more open to a power of choice that maybe exists a bit in me. Congratulations on using your power of choice and taking an action to be here. To look at this presentation, I commend and acknowledge your power of choice, which doesn't look all that powerless to me. Resources used to create this are also in the description box below. Please consider having a look at them. You're very welcome to do so. If someone tells me that what is in this presentation is easy, it means they have obviously not tried it. A thing that I might like to entertain or consider is that a thing in here is perhaps a little more possible than my wonderful darling brain is telling me at the moment. Maybe I've got more hope of doing it than my brain is telling me. Whatever I can manage to do at this particular time is wonderfully okay. I am at the coalface. I am doing the work. If I'm able to do anything, well, that's great. If I struggle at the moment, well, that's not so great, and I'm sorry you are, but maybe a little bit later you can do something. If you got a bit from the meeting, please consider giving a bit. If a light came on for you ever so slightly, maybe consider dropping a little bit in for the electricity bill. Please consider donating to whoever or whatever helps you a little. I would personally like you to donate to the Greater Good in Action website. It's entirely up to you. Of course, you don't have to do anything. You ain't got to do nothing. Please do take care. It was great you were here. I trust you did get a benefit from the meeting. All the best in your journey.